Welcome to BodyWork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to BodyWorkBoxing. Man, I want to talk about the 147-pound division today. You know, a lot of things was going on and a lot of things was kind of held up, and it's like a feeding frenzy right now at 147, where there's a school of piranhas and everybody's looking to stake their claim, you know, in rulership. And, you know, it's a rematch going on from reports stating that Errol Spence has activated his rematch against Bud. You know, a lot of people are in a hangover, you know, about that fight. Some people are giving Bud his just due credit, and other people are discrediting Errol Spence, even though the politics surrounding that made that whole fight toxic. But the outcome of that fight heavily dictates what's going on in the 147 division. A lot of people are clamoring for Bud to fight Boots. Bud has already come out and said, hey, you know, he's looking for bigger and better things. He's looking for bigger and better fish in Jamal Charlo, or the winner of Canelo and Jamal Charlo. So, with Earl reenacting his rematch and taking Bud out the picture, I'm looking at the landscape of the 147-pound division. And I come to the conclusion that EimantasStanionis and Jaron Ennis need to dance. Yes, they need to dance. It's a realistic option. You know, Virgil Ortiz, he's no longer in the picture. According to ESPN, Boots is like number 3. Virgil Ortiz is number 4, and they have Stanionis number 5. Where I'm thinking that we can go ahead and pencil Virgil Ortiz out because he left EimantasStanionis at the altar 3 times, and they're saying that, you know, he have rhabdomyolysis and, you know, these kidney things and, you know, whatever health problem, and that he might just be too big for 47 and that he needs to fight at 54. So that rules them out. So then you have the number 3 guy and the number 5 guy according to ESPN. Now, Stanionis, he actually has the WBA regular belt, right? Boots, he has the IBF interim, right? And I think that it's a good fight, even though I think there's just a little gap in the resume and the experience and everything. We'll get into the tail of the tape, right? We have Stanionis, he's 28 years old. Boots, well, he's 29. Boots is 26. That's a 3-year age, right? We have the height. Stanionis is 5'8". Boots is 5'10". That's a 2-inch, you know, height advantage. Then we have, in the reach department, we got Stanionis with a 68-inch arm reach, which is kind of weird because that seems like some short arms there. You know, when you think about somebody like Tank with a 67-inch arm reach, you know, I think Naoya even have a 67-inch arm reach. Pacquiao, I think, was said to have had that, you know, some short arms on the guy. With Boots having a 74-inch arm reach, which is an 8-inch, you know, reach advantage if that fight would take place. As far as rounds, I think Stanionis is around like 86 and Boots is at around about 101. Now their records is Stanionis is 14-0 with 9 knockouts, putting him at a 64% KO ratio. And Boots, he's actually 31-0 with 28 knockouts, putting him at a 90+ KO percentage. You know, on paper, it might look like EimantasStanionis is heavily matched, right? Even when you look at the skill sets, everybody knows that Boot has a skill set that jumps off the table. You know, Roy Jones comparisons, always center around Boots and how much of a special talent it is. And me, myself, I'm one of the guys that say, hey man, I want to see Boots against somebody that's taller, longer, stronger, or maybe just about the same size, a little bit young, somebody in their prime, not somebody moving up, somebody right at the weight class. We seen him against Vila, but according to Stanionis, he says that he saw a lot of things that he would capitalize when he saw that fight, and he saw some mistakes that he could capitalize, and he talked a good game. And the reason why I think that this fight really should happen is because Stanionis comes off as one of those guys who's not afraid to lose. But he wants to fight everybody. He was very patient. He did the courteous thing by stepping aside so Earl and Bud can get everything settled, so that when the dust settles, he can get his bite at the apple. Well, we saw the outcome. Earl lost. Bud, made a strong argument for himself to be number one pound for pound, right? And so, looking at the 147 landscape, I said, man, why isn't anybody pushing for this fight? Well, a lot of people would say that, oh man, Boots would just go in there and blow this guy out the water, and Stanionis is not known. If we're going by the legacy standards, if we're going by supremacy, these two guys are going to be some of the guys that when the smoke has settled, which it pretty much has, Bud just has to give up the belt. He has to go ahead and relinquish because he's not really going to fight at 47 anymore. Why can't the boxing guys deliver Stanionis and Boots? I think that's a very good fight. When I look at the skill sets, I look at Stanionis with surprisingly snappy jab. I'll get into CompuBox, if this fight was ever to be made. But he has he's a rough, rugged guy, heavy body puncher. He's high activity, throws a lot of punches. Boots throws a lot of punches. Has a vast arsenal, can hit you from many angles. Has power. That's an image of him when he actually hit Vila that it just looked like he was about to explode his face. He has this, one of my favorite punches, like this sneaky, it's like a shovel uppercut. It's like a jab variation of a jab, a hook, and an uppercut at the same time, and he can throw that thing from such a distance and he catches his prey. It's almost like Scorpion when he do the get over here, he got one of those that'll, knock some juice out of you. But I wanted to talk about this fight. I want to know what people think about this fight, man. Can this fight be made? Is it realistic? They both fight on PBC. We know Boots is a Showtime guy, but let's start pushing for some of these fights. Let's start giving, some pressure behind looking at some of these fights and how these options. I got a video coming out about silent agreements in boxing. Some of the things that I've seen and how, maybe the suits already know things that we don't know, and the appetite for the fans, we got to actually clamor for certain things and put our voice to be known to get certain fights. And I think this is one of them that we need to get behind. Somebody need to say, hey man, why can't these two get it on? Earl's going to go to 54. Earl and Bud, they're going to be at 54. I don't think Bud is coming back to 47, and I think that the Boots fight is high risk, low reward. I won't get into the politics and how, everybody said that, well, Boots could have had the fight, but he stepped out of line, and Gertie turned it down, and they don't want it, but Boots really want his time to shine. I think right now, with Crawford being double undisputed, with his eyes on the prize for Jamal Charlo and Canelo Alvarez or the winner, even though all the fans are acting like Canelo already beat Jamal. I think that since he has his eyes set on bigger things, Boots is never going to get his bite at the apple unless he goes up to 54. I think that would be a daring move, but according to the rankings in the ranking system, especially with ESPN, he has the IBF, but I didn't see Boots on the ranking because he's the interim champion at, with the IBF. Stanionis he has the WBA regular. So I think that those two are going to be two of the kings in the kingdom, and I'm thinking, man, they need to go ahead and get it on. There'll be no out. I know Boots is with Showtime. They both fight on the PBC or with the PBC. So I'm thinking this is a fight that can be made. What do you think about it? I've been, itching to actually, talk about this fight and how Stanionis comes on, and I really want him to get a shot because he's very vocal about having that fight. He's running towards that smoke. It's a lot of people that have their eyes set on bigger and better things, like how Shakur had his eyes set on Devin, and, the fans wanted Tank and Devin, and, you got people like De Los Santos, pretty much calling out Chris Colbert, calling out Isaac Cruz, and calling out Shakur Stevenson, but Shakur Stevenson has his eyes on the prize as far as wanting to get a belt. And so, you know, he wanted Devin Haney. For whatever reason, the money didn't work out. Both parties couldn't agree. Devin's going on to do bigger and better things at 140. I don't think he's coming back down to 35. But I bring this scenario up because it's a lot of times when you see one fighter, one marquee fighter with his eyes looking up, but it's always somebody behind him tapping on the shoulder say, hey man, look, I want next. You know, and in that situation, that's De Los Santos that wants next with Shakur. But Shakur look like he has some Frank Martin. You know what I'm saying? I think him and Frank Martin getting ready to dance because the WBC has ordered it. I think they got to like the 5th or the 7th or something like that to go to purse. I think the 5th, you know, or it's going to go to purse bid. And I think that we're really going to get that fight. Shakur Stevenson all but confirmed it. You know, I think because the promoters and everything, everybody got to roll that out. But in this situation, you know, we need to get Stanionis a fight. And I want to see Boots against somebody that's not really scared of him, somebody that really believes that they can actually beat him. Not saying that he could, but I think that that's a fight that the boxing fans will love. It'll be non-stop action. I think Stanionis knows how to move. His jab is a little bit crispier. He's not going to take that approach like Vila when Vila tried to do the same thing that he did up against Rashidi. Even though I think Rashidi won that fight, but he tried to actually, you know, labor through the whole fight and then ultimately crank it up in the 12th. But I think he took too much abuse along the way to even crank it up. Much like that fight that I saw with Triple G and the Japanese guy that he fought. I think that was his strategy, but the same thing happened. Triple G just levied too much punishment on him, and he could not, you know, mount an aggressive offense and get the shots off that he wanted to come back into that fight. You know, and Triple G wound up stopping him. You know, I'm not saying that's what will happen in this fight. It's just a fight that I really want to see. It's something on my radar. And I would love to get your feedback. Let me know what you think about this fight. You know, thanks to the Oracle, thanks to Dillevator. A lot of my viewers who actually watch according to my old head and chime in and give feedback. I want your feedback on this fight. If you want to guest star on the show, let me know. You know, if you ever talk, I see one of my guys, he likes to give the reports and everything. Hey, I'm welcoming you a spot on here where we can really talk about the X's and O's. Because, you know, here at BodyWork Boxing, we talk about the X's and O's first, which is inside the ring. And if the discussion leads us outside the ring, we'll go there. But I thought I'd just put this out, man. I think we need to get some energy behind it. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.